Hi, my name is Parastu Imami, and I'm the host of The Road to Success for Your Highly Sensitive Child. This podcast is about empowering parents of highly sensitive children to nurture their child's unique personality trait and create a path to success. Our podcast provides guidance, insights, and support to help you unlock your child's full potential, fostering resilience, confidence, and a bright future. If you're new to my podcast, please go back and listen to episodes 1 and 2 because they provide information on high sensitivity that all subsequent episodes will build upon. If you skip these episodes, you won't get as much out of this and all subsequent episodes. To book a private coaching session with me, please click on the link in my bio or go to www.pod.co/coach to parents of HSC, all one word. Today is a special episode as I'll be sharing a bit of my own journey as a highly sensitive person, the journey that led me to become a passionate advocate for highly sensitive children and become a coach to parents of highly sensitive children. But before I dive in, a quick reminder to subscribe to our podcast if you haven't already done so. And if you find my episodes helpful, don't forget to leave a review. It means so much to me. Now let's get personal. Many of you have reached out asking about my own experiences and what drives my dedication to supporting parents on this unique journey. So here it is, the story behind the voice you hear every week. I was born at a time where high sensitivity was not yet discovered. All my family members happened to be highly sensitive, but none of us knew we had this personality trait until I took a workshop with Dr. Elaine Aron back in 2019, which forever changed my life for the better. My dad is a surgeon and my mother is a midwife. I have 2 brothers. My older brother is a very talented artist, and my younger brother is a famous actor. My dad and I are introverts, and my mother and 2 brothers are extroverts. Unfortunately, my parents didn't know how to parent highly sensitive children, and they did pretty much all of the things that you're not supposed to do with highly sensitive children. But luckily, my maternal grandma, who loved me very much, knew how to raise highly sensitive children. And when I was born, she came and lived with us for several months. She told me many stories about how my parents didn't know how to parent me, and she couldn't bear to see me suffer. So she left her home and came to stay with us quite often to make sure that I would be okay. She told me about how when I was a baby, my dad would not allow my mom to soothe me when I cried. And he would let me cry for hours and hours in my bassinet in my own room, all alone. And her heart would break because my dad wouldn't even allow her to come and soothe me. If you listened to my previous episodes, you would know that this is a big no-no for children who are highly sensitive. It's a no-no for any child for that matter, but especially for children who are highly sensitive. A highly sensitive child needs to know that they're seen, heard, validated, and accepted by their caregivers. They need to know that their needs will be met by their caregivers as well. This is the foundation that allows them to grow up to be confident, secure, and resilient. The years to follow pretty much had the same theme. I wasn't seen, heard, or validated by my parents. In fact, I experienced the exact opposite. I was told to be quiet, don't ask questions, and basically keep a low profile. Now, my brother is only 1 year older than me, and he was treated exactly in the opposite way. He was able to do whatever he liked. He was able to get whatever he liked. He was very much catered to all the time. And he was so loved and adored by my parents. I remember that every day our driver would drive us to school. And when we would get close to school, my brother would say, "Oh, I forgot my schoolwork at home, so we need to go get it." And of course, they wouldn't allow me to get out of the car and go to school. So I had to go with them. And every day I had to be late to school because my brother left his schoolwork at home. And instead of my mom, basically telling my brother this is not okay, that he needs to learn to remember his schoolwork, or maybe she could remember on his behalf. But no, every day we went through this whole cycle over and over and over again. There were times where my parents would allow me to take lessons with my brother. For example, I was allowed to take piano lessons, even though I really didn't have any interest in piano. I really loved dancing, but I was not allowed to dance because my dad thought that if I go to dance classes, then I will become a dancer. And that's absolutely a no-no in my family. So, my brother was just in love with the piano, and he wanted to have this grand piano, which my parents ended up buying. And then they started us on piano lessons. So, of course, because my brother had this passion for music and for the piano, he would be playing on that piano every second that he could. And that meant that since we only had one piano, that I wouldn't have the chance to practice before class would start. So we would go to our private lessons, and they were back to back. And my brother would start, and he, of course, would be amazing at playing the piano, and he would learn every single song that we were supposed to learn. And on the other hand, since I didn't have much experience on the piano and much practice on the piano, I sucked at it. And so my teacher would rave about my brother and ask me why I'm not able to be as good as my brother. And he would punish me with a ruler. It was a wooden ruler, and he would hit me on my hands, on my knuckles, to basically teach me a lesson about making sure that I would practice for our next session. And of course, this never went away because my brother was always playing on the piano. And then it comes to our birthdays. So my parents would celebrate our birthdays together, even though my birthday is 2 months past after my brother's birthday. And so they would celebrate our birthdays together. They would purchase a gift or two for my brother. Whatever it is that he was asking for, he would absolutely get. And then for me, they wouldn't purchase anything. I wouldn't get any gifts. So when I asked my dad why I'm not getting a gift, he would tell me, "Oh, I'm putting your money away for you in the bank because you're too old to be getting gifts." By the way, I never saw that money. So I have no idea what he was talking about and where that money is. To this day, he doesn't know what I'm talking about either. So he has very conveniently forgotten about this deal that he made with me every single year. And also one year when I was very young, I would say I was probably 8 years old. I asked my dad again, why is it that every year I don't get a present and my brother does? So my dad got really angry at me, and he hit me, and I went flying, and I hit my back on my bedroom door. So of course I started crying like any child would in this situation. And my dad told me that if I didn't stop crying, he would hit me again. So that's the moment that I learned to suppress my emotions. And in my household, only certain emotions were allowed. We were allowed to be happy or sad. We were not allowed to show our emotions, like our sadness, by crying. However, we were allowed to feel sad as long as we didn't show it outwardly. We were also not allowed to be angry. My mom hated it when somebody was angry, because my dad was often angry and he couldn't control his emotion. So he would have these outbursts. And my mom really, really got bothered by this. So as a result, she wouldn't allow any of us to get angry. So my vocabulary for emotions and how I was feeling was extremely limited to basically two emotions, happy and sad. It wasn't until I was an adult and I discovered the book Ask and It Is Given that I learned about the various emotions and the importance of being able to identify which emotion you're feeling and where in your body you're feeling it. To this day, this has had a profound impact in my life. And I believe that it will have a profound impact in your child's life as well if you teach them about emotions early on in life, and if you teach them that each emotion is important. Each emotion has a message to give us, and each emotion needs to be listened to, accepted, and just observed. And once our body processes that emotion, it will let that emotion go. It won't be with us forever. But if we suppress that emotion, all we do is push it down and down and down further into our body. And at some point, this is going to get built up like a volcano and it will erupt and it won't be pretty. So the sooner you teach your children about emotions and the importance of emotion and how they can basically handle each emotion, the more successful your child will be as an adult. As you remember from my previous episode, highly sensitive children need a calm and predictable environment. My home environment was anything but calm and predictable. We moved 6 times by the time I was 9 years old, including moving to Germany for 9 months when I was 9 years old. My parents had different parenting styles, and they could never agree on anything. So my home environment was pretty chaotic as they bickered all the time. Today, they still bicker all the time. My parents argued a lot, and I never knew what to expect or what the rules of our home were. If I went to my mom, I would get one message. And if I went to my dad with the same exact subject, I would get a different message altogether. When I was nearly 11 years old, one night I was told, we're leaving for Germany tomorrow. You will need to pack some clothes with you and leave everything else behind. My younger brother, who was about 5 months old, my mother, and I left Iran for good. My dad and my older brother stayed behind. So as you can see, I had a very chaotic environment at home, and that is the worst situation you can have for an HSC. Highly sensitive children need a calm, loving, nurturing, and predictable environment. They thrive in that environment. And it is very, very hard on them if they don't have that environment. If they have a chaotic environment, they are more prone to have mental issues as an adult, such as anxiety and depression. So, fast forward to my college years. Despite my chaotic and unpredictable home life, I always looked for ways to be happy and joyful. And by now, I was very good at being flexible and going with the flow. Thanks to all the moves that we made throughout my life. My college years were amazing. I loved learning and I loved growing my knowledge. I was still living with my parents because I was only 16 years old when I entered college. So the same strict rules still applied to me. So I dedicated my time to school and took as many classes as possible. My home life continued to be chaotic. We continued to move from one home to another, because my dad would find a home that he liked better. He never consulted with my mom and our opinions never mattered. Even when I would voice my opinion to him in a polite and respectful way, he would never listen. It's as if I didn't exist. So my goal was I will go to school and get my education as fast as possible, because if I'm done with school as fast as possible, I could get a job, I can be independent, and I can move out. But what happened is right before I was graduating from college, I met this man and he proposed to me and I accepted. And I graduated. I waited till I graduated and then I got married to him. Now, I didn't have a good role model from my parents, and I didn't have the wisdom to know how to choose a life partner. All I could think about is any home would be better than the one I'm in. And boy, was I wrong. So, like I said, given the fact that I didn't have a good role model through my parents, and the fact that my parents raised me with an insecure attachment style, my marriage failed because I didn't have the wisdom to choose the right life partner. That's when I started my journey of self-discovery through reading self-help books, taking numerous classes, and connecting with experts in fields that I was interested in, like high sensitivity, perfectionism, childhood trauma, shadow work, etc. Then in 2019, when I learned about high sensitivity, this was a pivotal moment in my life, thanks to Dr. Elaine Aron and her workshop on highly sensitive people. For the first time in my life, I had a name for all the ways that I was different than the majority of the people that I had come across in my life. I finally understood that indeed I was unique, and this knowledge was the first step in my journey to accepting myself and accepting this personality trait and start loving myself exactly the way I am. Armed with this knowledge, I set out on a mission to learn more, not just for myself, but for others who might be on a similar journey as I. If I met someone who I thought might be highly sensitive, I would ask them if they knew about a personality trait called high sensitivity. If they said no, I would explain to them what it is and would encourage them to learn more about it. I would tell them my story and how it changed my life for the better, and I hoped that this would inspire them to do the same. If they said yes, I would ask them to tell me about it, and 9 out of 10 times, their understanding was not accurate. I was really wanting to help as many people as possible, so I talked about high sensitivity wherever I found it appropriate to discuss. Because in my mind, even if that person was not highly sensitive, maybe they had a relative or a friend or a child or a colleague who was highly sensitive and could benefit from this knowledge. One day, I was talking to a friend that I see on a regular basis, every 3 weeks to be exact, and she often would tell me stories about her little boy. After listening to her for several months, one day I asked her if she knows about a personality trait called highly sensitive children, and she said no. I proceeded to tell her about Dr. Elaine Aron and her work on high sensitivity and her definition of high sensitivity. And my friend said, I don't think this is describing my son. At that moment, I was 99.9% sure that her son is a highly sensitive child. But I didn't want to push my point because it was important to me that she discover for herself when she would be ready. Several months went by and she told me that indeed her son is a highly sensitive child. From that point forward, every time we saw each other, We would talk about her son, and I would share my knowledge with her and explain why her son is doing that particular thing that she was telling me about. And I would give her some food for thought and some suggestions on what she could do to help her son and, of course, herself. One day she told me that knowing that her child is highly sensitive and getting educated on how to parent her son has helped her so much. And she said that I should consider doing this for a living. And that in her opinion, I'm a natural at this, and it's my calling. My initial reaction was, wow, I'm so happy that I was able to help and I was able to have such a positive impact on her family's life. And it warmed my heart to know that her son is thriving now. So I thought hard about what she had said to me, and I decided to start coaching highly sensitive people and parents of highly sensitive children. After working with several people and seeing the profound impact I had on their lives, I realized that my friend was right. This is my calling. I wanted to be a guide, a support system, and a source of inspiration for parents navigating the beautiful yet intricate landscape of raising a highly sensitive child. I had suffered so much in my own childhood by parents who loved me in their own way and had good intention, but unfortunately didn't have the knowledge or tools for raising highly sensitive children. They themselves were highly sensitive people, and they had a very tough childhood in their own ways. My dad lost his mom when he was 6 years old and was raised by a stepmom. And my mom lost her dad at the age of 6. But lucky for my mom, she was raised by an amazing mother who filled the void of her father. So according to my mom, she never really felt the loss of her dad, excuse me. So my point is, given what I've told you about my childhood, I want you to understand that I have an amazing relationship with my parents, and in no way do I blame them, or am I angry at them, or do I resent them for the suffering that they caused me, because I know they were doing the best at the time with the knowledge they had and with the resources that they had and with what they had to deal with in their own individual lives. So I have an amazing relationship with my parents despite my childhood and despite all the trauma that they caused me. So what I did next was I prayed to God and asked Him for guidance. I asked God to give me a very clear sign that I should pursue this path. I told God that I want the sign to be so clear that there's no way I could miss it. Several weeks went by, and I get contacted by Ahmad via LinkedIn to talk to me about podcasting. Now, I never thought about having my own podcast because I'm an introvert and I'm a person of very few words. When I speak, I get to the point and I don't add fluff. So how could I possibly come up with a 30-minute episode on a weekly basis? But my intuition said, give this a chance. So I accepted Ahmad's invitation to talk. When Ahmad and I met, I immediately knew that I had to work with him. I know my body very well, and my entire body was giving me a resounding yes. Even though I knew I would work with Ahmad, I still took the time to sleep on it and get back to him the next day. And the rest is history. Now I'm coaching parents of highly sensitive children. I'm podcasting on this topic, and I'm working on building a community for parents of highly sensitive children, all in hopes that I bring awareness and acceptance to highly sensitive children. And I give parents the knowledge and the tools they need to parent their highly sensitive child in a way that sets them up to thrive in life, in the hopes that thousands of children all around the world would have a better childhood and a better adulthood than the one I experienced up until a few years ago. I'm grateful to God for giving me the strength and courage to work through all the hardship and turn my life around. I'm much happier, more resilient, and most importantly, I love and honor myself exactly the way I am. If you would like to be part of the community, please send me a message. Picture this: a virtual room full of parents sharing their stories, their triumphs, and their challenges in raising highly sensitive children. The connections formed, the aha moments experienced, and the vast knowledge shared would truly warm my heart. We are in this together, my beautiful listeners. As we close this episode, I want to remind you that you have the power to create a bright and successful future for your highly sensitive child. Embrace their uniqueness, nurture their strengths, and provide them with the love and support they need. Together, we can pave a path to success that aligns with their sensitivity. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, you're not alone on this journey. We'll be here with more insights and inspiration in our next episode. Until then, keep believing in your child's potential because they truly are extraordinary. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and stay committed to setting your child up for success in life. To book a private coaching session with me, please click on the link in my bio or go to www.pod.co/coach to parents of HSC.